Welcome to our Carlos Esquerra tribute panel, giving Irish fans a chance to meet two of the writers that worked extensively with Carlos over the years. Carlos was actually meant to be here this year. He had agreed to come. I spoke to him last summer, and I was to meet him in ICE at Birmingham in September to discuss the arrangements for him coming over. And unfortunately then he had to pull out of that, and the sad news came shortly after. Carlos he was here in 2017 and really enjoyed it and was looking forward to coming back, so it's just such a shame the way that things worked out. The two gentlemen I have here with me have created some of Carlos's best known characters. I've got Alan Hebden, who created Major Easy. Hope you've all read Major Easy. And the great El Mestizo. I think there's still a few copies available for sale downstairs. Everybody really needs to read this book because this is my favourite. John created some judge guy or other. I think he went on to become reasonably popular. And some dog character as well that maybe you've heard of. Just a point. So these gentlemen between them have worked on quite a lot of Carlos's stories. Alan also created a character called Comrade Bronski, which appeared in Eagle Comics in the 1980s, but unfortunately has never been reprinted. So we'll just really want to chat through the creation of these characters. Maybe some of these stories you've heard before, maybe some of it are fresh, but at least you'll be hearing directly from the mouths of the creators. So, John, you first spotted Carlos's work when he was working for DC Thomson.
Yeah, he was drawing a couple of stories. One was called Chained to His Sword. It was about a soldier who had his sword chained to his arm, and another one was. His name escapes me now, Strongbow, an archer. And Pat Mills and I were putting together Battle Picture Weekly, and we were in opposition to DC Thomson's Warlord, and so it had to be really good, because Warlord was a good comic. And so we were looking for all the best artists we could find, and we'd spotted this. But DC Thomson's, because they didn't want anyone stealing their creators, never credited anyone. So we didn't know who it was. Every agent that came into the office, we'd show them this and said, you know this artist? And finally one guy, Barry Coker at Barden, admitted it. And we said, well, we would really like to have him working for us. We got just the story for him. But Barry didn't want him working for us because he thought we were fly-by-nights, and maybe in a few months the comic wouldn't exist. And we had to keep on it, Barry, keep on it, and convince him that, well, if the comic didn't exist, we would find other work for Carlos. And also, we paid twice as much as DC Thomson's, which was a little incentive. And finally, he relented. And Carlos was given the main story in Battle Picture Weekly to draw. Rat Pack. And once they designed the characters, we knew we picked the right man, because it was strong, really strong.
It was my favourite story in Battle
Yeah,
Picture
I think it was. Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel the same.
It was a Dirty Dozen rip-off, but it was still a good story.
Yeah. So then Carlos was working on Rat Pack. Alan, you would have been the first of the writers then really to launch a character with Carlos in Major Easy.
Yeah.
Could you tell us just a wee bit about your idea for the character? And
well, I suppose it just came out of the dollar movies with Clint Eastwood. Basically, man with no name idea. He was a loner, transfer into the Second World War. I mean, originally he had that was Stephen Mouse's name, actually.
Really?
He dragged that one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because it was going to be Major Carlisle or something. That was the original. But basically, yeah, that's what it was. And then it was so I did a first episode, and then I got shown the artwork.
You didn't know.
I had sort of said he was going to be a scruffy sort of guy. I mean, although turned out to be rather more scruffy than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, but that's all right. Sort of looked good. I like the side action he has. You know, all the sort of the other things that are going on. And off we went.
So you didn't actually see any of the artwork until it was drawn?
Well, that's how it works.
Yeah, that's how it
you
works.
can't really see up.
No, but cuts. I mean, you didn't see concept art or character designs. No, just the Carlos one.
No, we just did the first one. I mean, that's
Okay.
it's easier, isn't it?
Okay.
I mean, it's not like it's not like you're kind of sort of making a movie or something.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it's just a comic strip.
Has everybody read any Major Easy?
Yeah.
Yeah. The archonic character didn't like authority, was driven around in his Bentley, slept a lot of the time, really only woke up to shoot Nazis and annoy his superiors, but because he got the job done, he got away with it. Great character. Hopefully this rebellion will do a proper reprint of Major Easy
I'm sure they will.
at some point. There was a single volume out from Titan, but I think that's not discontinued, so hopefully Rebellion will do a proper job. And so Major Easy was popular,
So I was told.
so you were told, and it came back then for,
Well, that's why I was sort of when the first run finished, I was like, well, when's the next one?
when's the next one?
It wasn't actually quick, actually. It was about 6 weeks later.
It was, yeah, the second story then. And then Carlos, while he was working on Major Easy, would have been involved in the initial work for Dread.
I really couldn't tell you.
It must have been at the same time.
Au fait with it.
Yeah.
You might have been.
Yeah, time-wise it must have been around that.
Yeah. It also, previous to that, done, because he was busy with Rat Pack on Battle, he'd done a series of covers for me on Valiant, which I
That's
was
right.
editing, which really sparked Valiant up. And it had been a staid kind of, well, a dying comic before that, but Carlos gave it life.
The covers he did for
Yeah,
Valiant
they were
were
great,
so
yeah.
unlike anything that.
And we worked together, you know, we discussed them, and it's unusual for me to do much more than just write descriptions. But Carlos came into the office and we talked about what was wanted on the covers and we implemented them.
So with Carlos not proceeding with Judge Dredd, I think it was then he had developed. Did Carlos ask you for a new character in El Mestizo, or was that something you had come up with? The story, there are a few different stories
Dave
going on.
Hunt came up with. Dave Hunt asked me, that said Carlos was interested in doing a sort of western sort of thing. Do you fancy that? And I said no. Well, I didn't like. I wasn't keen on westerns, but I was keen on the idea of sort of historical series, and the American Civil War was a perfect sort of background, and that's when that in a way that really borrowed from the dollar movies, because that was the loner who worked for and against both sides, but always hopefully doing the right thing. I mean, even his name, he's called El Mestizo, but it's not really a name, it's just a description. We never really find out his name.
That's really neat, yeah.
But anyway, it was quite obvious that Carl liked to do it because it's, you know, it was enough. There was enough Western in there. There were horses. He didn't like all horses in there, and it shows, you know, because that was one he was really keen on doing. A lot of effort into it.
You can usually tell when Carlos didn't enjoy drawing the story. but his enjoyment comes over in both those characters.
Mhm. No, the level of detail that he puts into the Elmstesium, it's absolutely fabulous. So it really didn't seem to click, I think, with readers.
The Second World War, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, not
Yeah.
Second World War.
Yeah, so-
Oh, no.
Was the story design?
I mean, I suppose the fact that it came. I mean, even they didn't have to. I mean, hadn't even tried the First World War then, hadn't they?
No.
No.
Charlie's War was still a few years ago. So it was a kind of sort of, yes, I don't know. You know, I mean, obviously, plenty of people did like it because it was sort of. But, there you go, wrong place, wrong time.
It stayed in my mind from the time I first read it. It was always a favourite of mine.
Were you a battle reader then?
I was, yeah, very much so.
You just a nipper then?
I'm still just a nipper. No, I would have started to read. I read Warlord #1. I read some of the DCT stuff first, and then Warlord, when it came out, and all my friends at school, we joined the Warlord fan club.
Oh yeah.
Whatnot. But when Battle came out, we all really were much more impressed by it.
Oh, did you move over then?
So
That was our intention.
DCT lost me from that point on, so we went through Battle and Action and all into 2018 Tornado. Elmstesium, did it finish the way that you would have liked it? Was it truncated or did it come to its natural?
Well, it was sort of. I mean, I got a bit of warning. Sort of
Right.
ending, rather than the usual next week that it's got to end. I sort of had sort of like 3 or 4 weeks to episode. So just sort of wound it up really by winding up with the end of the war. Then off he rides.
Hence the sunset.
Nobody else ever drew that, did they? It was always Carlos and Major Easy, yeah?
I don't know if they ever did it in a novel.
No, Elmstesium never did anything else apart from that one in the comic. Major Easy did.
There were two episodes of Major Easy, but I've done it a long time. The two before the last two that were published. And I think the reason that was because you lot were trying to get your claws into him over Judge Dredd.
I'm sorry.
I think he was too, actually. I would prefer to have finished it off.
He probably would, yeah.
But I mean, Ron Klein is okay.
Yeah, his art fitted. Didn't jar.
Yeah.
So Major
He
Easy.
got given Carlos's Volkswagen model.
That's right, the model Bentley.
Of the Bentley, so he referenced from any angle you want.
Whose idea was it to team up Rat Pack with Major Easy? Was that something you wanted to do, or did that come from Dave Hunt as well?
No, that's me.
That was you? Yeah.
Well, he did them both, so why not? It should sort of fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have different artists, completely different artists. Having one artist do it, it will look like someone. And people were used to his run packs, knew his easies.
Yeah.
And, yeah, put them together. Crossovers here.
Crossover, one of the first against the British comics. John, then Carlos would have gone back to work on Dread, and you returned to work on Dread. Can you tell us a little bit about just about the genesis of Dread? And
he was sent the first script. The only reference I sent him was I cut it out of a newspaper. It was a picture of David Carradine on his bike in Death Race 2000, which was a really cut down, spare kind of character. And a few weeks later I went back into the office and they showed me what Carlos said. I hit the roof. I hated it. I just hated it. I thought he looked like a Spanish pirate. And I said, I'm not writing that story. I had other issues with them anyway. But so I decided I wasn't writing it. And then they decided that the first script that I'd written was too violent. and they couldn't use it. They couldn't use Carlos's artwork. So Mike McMahon was brought in to partly mimic Carlos's style and his character, which he had to do, to draw the first one, which Carlos objected to. So he quit. So we both, in effect, quit. And I don't know how long after. I usually think 3 months before poverty drove me back into the office to eat humble pie. Say, okay, I'll have a go at some dreads. And Carlos, not long after me, I always think of him drawing the Robot Wars story, but did he? The first comic story?
Yes, he did one.
I literally read it this week and I can't remember.
Yeah. Yes, I think he did it.
Yeah, I always see it in his
Yeah.
style. And that was the first, and then from then on, it was go. Well, he may well have quit after the Robot Wars story.
It was Ian Gibson did Robot Wars.
No.
Yeah.
Was it?
With Ronnie Kenneth over the skateboard.
Was it? Yeah.
Was there a cover? Carlos did a cover?
I don't know if he did a cover.
Yes.
I think there was some connection.
Oh,
That's what it is. It was a cover he did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a memory for you.
Yeah. Well, it just shows the power of Carlos's covers.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I remember about the
it's
story.
in my mind.
Yeah, burned in. Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
So I can't remember what the next story he came back to was, but I think it was about 6 months before he was back on the character. And, Carlos never considered himself the best comic strip artist. He always thought that there were many artists who could draw a comic strip better than him. There was some false modesty in that, I think, but a certain amount of truth too. But what he did consider he was a great character creator, and you can see all his characters really stand out, and that's why he was such a joy to work with, because you knew he would do anything you did justice, unless he didn't like it. So,
Was there anything he didn't like?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. We didn't like me killing off Johnny Alpha. Well, I didn't do it. Alan Grant did it. But he didn't like that. He really, and he was quite right. It was a bad move. Something that took me about 20 years to correct. Yeah, from then on he was sporadically on that and working on other things, mainly Strontium Doc.
Carlos?
Stainless steel rat.
That's right,
Yeah,
stainless steel rat.
So Carlos was living in London, I think it was.
He lived in Croydon for a
Croydon,
while. I can't remember quite when he went back.
When did you meet him? Did you at this time?
I met him. Barry Coker brought him into the office just for a chat, and he was a likable, very likable fellow. I took to him immediately, and then we became friendlier. He invited us out to his house in Croydon. His wife cooked us this elaborate Spanish meal, which was all too healthy for me. I was more into Limpies. And so after that, we just gradually became pretty firm friends. He and I and Alan Grant. And then he would come up occasionally for our meetings when we were 2000 AD creators and editorial met, usually in the Cartoonist pub, for drinks and chats and bonding. I can't remember when he went back to Spain though. It was to do with tax. He wanted.
It usually is.
Yeah, he didn't want to pay any more tax, so he took up residency in Andorra. Well, first it was Spain, and then he decided, well, for tax purposes, he would go and live in Andorra, which I never visited him there. Always seemed a bit stark.
You were quite happy to pay the tax.
In a way, yes, I am happy to pay tax. I think tax helps society go around, but not as much tax as I wanted.
Did you meet Carlos back at the time, Alan? Or was everything? Did you? Yeah.
Some of these, after some of these liquid sort of meetings, come round to the other pub. I'm not a cartoonist, the one very close to King's Reach.
Oh, yeah, well, there were a couple, can't remember what it was called. And it was always in a pub.
Yeah.
that we
All the
went.
best weekends are. Well then, Strong Game Dog,
Mm.
the launch of Starblazer, not Starblazer, Star Lord. Can you tell us just a little bit about, again, you were a tight creative team at that point? Did this,
Yeah, well, we were pretty good
Yeah,
friends and had a lot of trust in each other. We still didn't talk over every aspect of the story. I wouldn't phone him up and say I'm having trouble here, and he wouldn't phone me up except to complain. But we trusted each other, so I wrote a script and I would just send it off to him and rely on him to turn in really good artwork. Strontium Dog didn't work for me until I got the title. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do with it, but it just wasn't a cohesive story until the title, and then I saw what it was all about. And Carlos took to that. You know, he liked the whole idea behind it. And, his creation of Johnny Alpha, he was a softer, kinder character than Dread. A troubled soul. And that came out in the light of blue. And, also his portrayal of Wolf, the sidekick, was pretty good too. So his intention was, because he always felt slighted by Dread, by what had happened on Dread, was to make Strontium Dog a more popular character than Dread. And a few times, he did top the polls. And I don't know if you remember, they used to put voting forms in the comic, and you have to, when you wrote in your letters.
I never cut mine out.
No,
I didn't do it.
But you could just have written it on a piece
Well, I
of
suppose,
paper.
yeah.
Although they didn't make that plain. But yeah, a few times Strontium Dog did actually beat Dread in the popularity polls. You know, particular stories that worked really well. So that gave him great satisfaction. I think he liked drawing ridiculous mutants as well.
I was just going to ask you about that. The cast in Strong Game Dog, fabulous.
I know.
Did they come from Carlos, or were the Kidney and Middenface, were they?
No, they were all our
They were all
suggestions,
yours,
but I
yeah.
mean, he did his own version of them.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't always totally happy with them. Like Middenface was actually meant to have garbage in his head, sort of in glass bits sticking out. But I mean, Carlos is an artist, obviously wasn't going to want to draw that all the time, so it was just lumping. But some of the ones he did were really good. I loved his Kid Me. And yeah, we had a lot of fun with Strontium Dog. I think he always considered that as his favourite story.
His favourite. And also in the 80s then, Alan, you worked again with Carlos on Comrade Bronsky, which appeared in Ego. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring my issues of Ego down with me, so this is actually a reprint of it going on. Comrade Bronsky, can you tell us just a little bit what was the? Did you know you were getting to work with Carlos again?
Yeah. I suppose it was trying to find a new. That's what you're always trying to do. Trying to find a new angle on something. Come on. In those days, it was communist Russia, great monolith. Let's have a subversive look in there who's actually a member of that monolith. Hence Bronsky, subversive KGB agent, comes along. And they were all kind of contemporary settings at the time.
Yes.
You know, sort of a futuristic one today. And hopefully sort of illustrated public play perhaps that it wasn't such a wonderful place.
It was Carlos was actually, he was drawing the bitch storyline in Strong Toon Dog at the same time as working on Conrad Bronski, which possibly was the reason he didn't really start the script. And then Mike Dory became a fill-in for Carlos, and then eventually took over from Carlos completely. But it's a lovely script. It's very very cleverly done, and it's something I wish that would be reprinted. Right, we've sort of run through the various characters and stories that these two men have worked on. We'll throw it open for questions. Has anybody got a question for Alan or John just about any of their work with Carlos?
Can I ask about the efficacy of liquid meetings? What does meeting over pints add to the creative process?
In every which way.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, people don't hold
We
back.
became the best of friends,
Yeah.
hugged each other.
And you think this is a shitty suggestion, you tell your face it's a shitty suggestion, you know, it's okay, it's the way it works.
Yeah, I think liquid meetings are okay up to too much liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reaches a tipping point.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Anyway,
no,
yeah,
no,
that's-
When the meeting goes over workers.
yeah. But no, they were really good. I mean, I miss them in a way, although I probably wouldn't go to them now. But they were very useful for getting to know people, appreciate for a writer to appreciate the problems artists had, and vice versa. And you know, just to form really good relationships, and I think that came through in the comic as well. That's one of the reasons 2000 AD continued successfully.
To what sort of degree does an artist, say like Carlos, have an input into what direction the story would go?
I wouldn't say so much direction, although as a writer I would pick up clues from what they were doing and indications of where it should go. But you never write a script and get it back just as you've written it.
Yeah.
Because the artist always, and I tend not to write long, elaborate descriptions. Carlos didn't like them anyway. They were too complicated for the English. You just want nice, short descriptions. And I like that too because I'm really lazy. So, and I also like to leave a lot of room for an artist with a great imagination to do his or her thing. So I leave them a lot of leeway. Sometimes the story comes back and you think, God, how am I going to make sense of this? And they do it their own way. Some artists are worse than others. Carlos wasn't bad. But quite often the story would come back and they'd have changed things around or done things the way they wanted, which is fine, usually.
Were you generally happy with the way Carlos's art turned out in Major Easy and El Mestizo?
I mean, if he wrote 2-line pitch descriptions, I wrote 1 line. I mean, once it was set up, you were happy. I was happy with it. I mean, I didn't have to describe him. I had to say, once you see the action scenes, it was, sort of, I don't know, the car explodes, something like that. Easy drives in front of the tank. That's it.
Just let him tear away.
Yeah.
I don't know if Carlos has ever been given an Alan Moore script to draw, but if he had, he'd have returned it.
Yes.
Were there any characters that you included in a story, and after you thought maybe there'd be a sort of short-term character, but after the designs came back or the finished comic came out, you thought, well, I must sort of expand this after.
Well, I can't think of one in particular.
Yeah.
But yeah, there must have been many. You look at it and you think, boy, that guy looks good. Let's use him again, or let's not kill him. Like the Styxes.
Yeah.
The Styxes, they come back, and I've used them many times since then, just because they look so good.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Could John tell us about any work that he had done for Carlos that hasn't been published, or after I think The Sun was the last thing that came out?
Yeah, the only other thing that we were working on is a story called Spectre, which is sort of another robot story, another take on a robot story. It's based on about 30 years ago. Alan Grant and I asked Carlos to do a number of illustrations for speculative characters. One of them was a private detective type guy that we called at that time Sam Seven, who became Sam Street, a really striking character. Another one was a Western preacher, straw in the mouth and a derringer and his flat cap, called Judas Gunn. It was really good. I still got the illustration somewhere, but I really liked the Sam Seven character, but I could never get a story on it that satisfied me. Like every few years I'd drag it out and I'd waste another couple of weeks trying to figure out a story. And finally, a couple of years ago, I decided I'll have another go at it and I'll really stick. And it took me about 3 months to work out this character. And I was pretty happy with it. It was a really different take on what a robot would be like. And Carlos himself, I mean, you get old, you slow up, your brain doesn't work so well, so things take longer. And Carlos was finding the same problem, but we were both getting there. And he'd drawn 2 episodes of it, which will be published later on this year, along with my scripts and notes for 2 further episodes. And we were going to leave it at that, but I have decided that I'll find an artist and continue with it, because that way Carlos stands a chance of getting some royalties on it. So eventually I will continue it, and it may take me 3 months of script, but we'll get there. I was thinking of Colin McNeil, who does a fair approximation of me. Can't be Carlos, but Simon Colby's another possibility. He's a good artist. Can I just say that you'll be showing Carlos' tribute film after this? Yeah, and it's a really good film.
What was the conception of the bitch storyline like? Because Strong Tim Dog is the fantastic surrealist alien western, and then just the bitch storyline is she's going to be a vampire, they're going to travel back in time, Ronnie Reagan's going to be deaf as a post. It really is a stroke of genius in the middle of it.
I'm not sure I understand.
How did that story come about? How did you decide to
We
put a
just
vampire
followed
in
it.
it? Yeah. Just out of nowhere. Fair enough.
Well, it's fun playing with. We had a good time with the Schicklgruber grab, and we thought, well, Ronnie Reagan's worth satirising, so and it'd be nice to see him in the shower.
Top part. It's like a grill moment.
It's one of those.
For me.
So I don't think it worked as well as the Schicklgruber grab, but it was still quite. We spun it out too long, but it was still a good fun story.
Anybody else? Just we have a few minutes.
Has there been a decision as to whether there will be any more Strong Tim Dog without Carlos?
Matt Smith made the decision that there wouldn't be, but for the same reason as I'm going to continue with Spectre, I'm going to ask Matt to continue Strong Tim Dog, but not with me writing it.
So it'll be sort of an alternate.
Yeah, we'll find a
Yeah,
good writer
yeah.
that wants to do it
Understand.
and a good artist.
Yeah.
And, well, as long as Matt's willing to do it. And, you know, it might be. Michael Carroll has showed me some Strong Tim Dog ideas that I thought were excellent. So he might be the one, might be somebody else.
I think Mike would do a very good version.
So expect more Strong Tim Dog. I'll have to speak to Matt about it. He might have other ideas. I think he would probably entertain it. And I have heard that Edgar Wright, his name is really seriously thinking of getting a Strong Tim Dog film underway. I don't know if it's true. I mean,
Simon Pegg's a great Johnny Alpha. Done it in the audio version. It's really good.
So,
Okay. Our time's just about up. Thank you all for coming along to our tribute panel to Carlos. I'll just finish off with a couple of plugs, if that's all right. First of all, just a reminder that I think Alan does have a few copies of El Mestizo left, which I'm sure he will happily sign. And this really is a cracking good read. The quality of the art.
It's a lovely volume.
It is a really, really nice book. As I say, I think it's some of Carlos' best ever artwork. On sale out in reception, we do have our exclusive Comic Fest t-shirt featuring the cartoon of Carlos, the droid, and the proceeds from the sales of that t-shirt will be donated to Action Cancer in memory of Carlos. Indeed, all the proceeds from the charity auction that we're running later on this evening, everything will be donated to Action Cancer in memory of Carlos. We also have on sale a few copies of the colouring book, Colour with Carlos, at any budding colourists out there, and proceeds from the sale of this book will go to Carlos's family. So these two gentlemen created some of the characters that are in here. We have El Mestizo, we have Johnny Alpha, we have Judge Dredd, we have Major Easy. So I'm sure they'll be quite happy to sign a copy of this book as well. So I think there's still a few copies of that at reception. So please do, because all the proceeds will be going to Carlos's family. It only remains really for me to say,
I've got one question.
Okay.
Yeah, have you got either of you got any original artwork from Carlos for your creations? Like obviously Dredd and Johnny Alpha, and have you got any mistake? No.
I've got 2 bits, but I don't have any Dredd.
No Dredd at all. No.
I don't think I ever had any Carlos Dredd.
No.
I had a few Strontium Dog pages. Now I have Al's Baby, which is on show, the Demi Moore pregnancy.
Yeah.
And a Bob the Galactic Bum cover. That's another thing. So that's all I have of Carlos's, yeah. Although his wife says I can take anything I want, but I'd rather she sold it.
Yeah.
of course, that original art is on display downstairs if everybody wants to take a look.
And it is all for sale. Except my page.
And our commissions.
Yeah, oh, and your commissions, yeah.
So as I say, folks, please, the T-shirt, the colouring book, all the proceeds will be either benefiting Carlos's family or donated in Carlos's name. So thank you very much to John Wagner, to Alan Hebden with a round of applause.